What is going on, everybody? It is a wild night for Phoenix sports as the Phoenix Mercury pull off the upset. They somehow, some way battle back to knock off the Lynx 86-81. They win the series 3-1. Wendy Lopez joining me now to talk about it. And Wendy, what a wild, unpredictable playoff run kind of season this has been for the Mercury. But to pull off this win tonight, I don't know who saw it coming. I did it. This was incredible for them to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when you're facing the number 1 seed, right, that's just, like, the pinnacle of, like, testing how tough your team can be, the grit, how much grit your team has, and so for this Phoenix team, who was projected by ESPN to not even make it to the playoffs, for them to be in the finals now, that's crazy, knocking out the reigning WNBA champions, the New York Liberty, and now defeating the number 1 seed Minnesota Lynx. It's just so crazy how they were able to just find this chemistry so fast, and now they're just 4 games away from winning a title.
Which is unbelievable, and still waiting to figure out who they're gonna be playing there on the other side of the bracket as they're now going 5 games. But tonight's ball game was a wild one. I mean, you look at the first quarter, it felt like nothing was going the Mercury's way. It felt like this was gonna be the Lynx's game, like, the entire time, and I mean, it felt like it was going to swing that way, but there's just seemingly no fight in this Phoenix team, and I don't know where they kind of keep finding a way to get up off the mat, but, I mean, they took one on the chin there in that first quarter to be able to bounce back was really impressive.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the Lynx going on that 12-1 run was just very uncharacteristic out of them, especially considering that they're one of the best defensive teams in the league, and so for them to come out to start the game in that way was very surprising. I don't think anybody would have expected that, but, they ended up with 14 points, Lynx ended up with 25. Kinda seemed like it was gonna go in Lynx' favor, but then going into the second quarter, I think things kinda just fell into place a little bit better for the Mercury. They played their tough defense that they're known for, and I mean, they tied it up, right? 38-38 going into halftime. So I think just the initial quarter was what really got to them. Mm, head coach Nate Tibbetts talked about it in the post-game presser about, how they kinda took their foot off the gas at the beginning of the game. They were pressing. They just really wanted to win. So definitely a tale of two halves. Where the first half they're trying to trying to do a catch up, right, being down by so much, and then the next half was them just figuring out putting pieces together. And of course, that fourth quarter. I mean, 31 points. That's like a season high for them in a fourth quarter. So, you know, just them trying to overcome that obstacle was just something they needed to do in order to even have a chance to secure a win here in Phoenix and not have to go back to Minnesota. So, as I said, a tale of two halves this game, and they ended up on the winning side.
Yeah, they dig themselves a hole again in that third quarter, and then to come out in the fourth quarter to put together the performance, to get the crowd behind them and kinda going in that push was, again, just there's no fight in this team, which is so impressive to see for a team that I mean, this was the season Diana Taurasi retired. That was supposed to be, what everyone was talking about. This was supposed to be a bit of a bridge team, maybe not a full rebuild, but they looked at it as kind of pieces that you brought in that were, like, nice, but on paper and, ESPN and any pundit at the beginning of the season told you that it was gonna be, "Okay, like, this is gonna get you over" type team, and now, like you said, they're headed to the finals. A lot of impressive individual performances. I think we should probably start on the Mercury side. We've gotta start with Alyssa Thomas. Monster game, has the huge bucket down the fourth quarter that kind of gave them a little bit of a two-possession cushion right there, but 23 points in this thing, 10 assists, 8 rebounds. She was a monster tonight.
Oh, yeah, almost getting another triple-double. I mean, she's the triple-double queen. She's had multiple ones here already in the regular season, so, looking back at it, those 23 points, big, huge, and her performance was really needed. Satu Sabli also had a pretty big performance with 21 points, but I think what really helped this team, beside those two, was really getting Kalia Copper going. She didn't make um, she didn't really make her presence known in that first half. She was missing a few shots. She had to be subbed in and out a few times in that first half just because she couldn't really find her rhythm. Coming back into the second half, she was, shooting a few more threes, a few more points in the paint, which I think she made that difference. If she didn't come out that second half, ready to play, ready to shoot, getting her shots in, we probably would be talking about a Mercury loss and them heading back to Minnesota. So as much as we want to talk about how Alyssa's game was so great, I think Copper's game, specifically in that second half, was what helped propel the Mercury to that win. Because without Copper, the big three just aren't the big three. They need their big three in order to be successful. So definitely kudos to Thomas, Sably, and especially Copper for just bringing herself back, trying to focus in and um, provide for the team when they really needed her.
You got to give a shout out to the bed shoot. Dewana Bonner and Sammy Whitcomb had the best plus minus on the entire team. I mean, they both play about 26 minutes plus 17, plus 16, and did the little things and gave them a lift when they needed it. I mean, like, they started the first quarter slow, they started the third quarter slow, and when they needed to get a little bit of juice, the bench was able to kind of come in and give them a lift to kind of get them going. So it was, as it's been, it feels like with this team, a total team effort again to kind of get this win tonight. And now headed to the finals, which is crazy to me right now to talk about that for this team to make it this far and to have the opportunity now of potentially being crowned champs here in, a week and a half or so. On the other side, I mean, Kayla McBride was as good as advertised tonight. She did just about everything she could to kinda get them down, and, I mean, they have that Lynx team is so loaded that it's incredible that they're able to slow them down and hold them to 13 points in the fourth, but they had some really impressive performances, not just in this game, but also in this series too.
Oh, yeah, of course, and of course, the loss of Nafisa Collier, of course, back in game 3, she did have that twisted ankle, so, the rest of the team really needed to rally together, and, they had an amazing game too. You mentioned McBride, 31 points. She had 6 three-pointers, which is huge, right? She really put her team on her back when they really needed someone after, what transpired in game 3. I wanna mention Jessica Shepherd. I mean, she had 10 points in the first quarter. And so it's just they just have a lot of talent. They really, really do. Courtney Williams is also another one of the players that just, is a catalyst for the team. She had 20 points. She had a really good game too. So, the Lynx did everything that they could to win this game, and unfortunately for them, it just didn't go their way, but definitely a lot of talent and, they're the number 1 seed, right? There's a reason why they're a number 1 seed. They just have a lot of talent. I mean, Cheryl Reeve, an amazing veteran, head coach, so, um, this was a test for the Mercury, for sure. You know, Going against a team like the Lynx isn't easy, and a lot of people didn't expect them to come out of this series as winners. So definitely a good team to play against, and the Mercury were just able to just figure things out. A few comeback wins in the series, and that's just basketball. That's just sports.
Yeah. So the victor go the spoil, so now they get the benefit of having a few extra days off, get a chance to really watch, this game 5 now on the other side. And I'm I'm curious how you feel. When you have a team like the Mercury that are playing so well and are so hot, part of me, when I played, part of teams will tell you that they don't necessarily always want a long time off. Like, if they're rolling, if they're feeling good, if they have a good rhythm, you'd prefer to kinda hit the hardwood right away. There's also something to be said with if you just had 2 pretty, physical, pretty tough series, there's gonna be a benefit to also having some time off and kinda resting your legs and stuff like that. It's not like they're gonna be off forever. I mean, there's only one more game, on the other side of the bracket, but I'm curious how you feel on that front. Is this gonna be maybe a little bit too much rest, or they're better off kinda hitting the court right away and kinda trying to carry on this momentum? Or is there enough value in it of letting everyone kinda recoup and get ready for, this last series?
Whenever I think about a team getting a little bit more time off, um, my mind kinda just goes back to that Arizona Diamondbacks playoff run that they had in 2023 when they faced the Dodgers in the NLDS and how they swept the Dodgers even though the Dodgers had such, like, extra amount of time to rest and prepare for that series. So, when I think about extra days of rest, my mind just kinda goes to that, and in some ways, it is a bad thing, right? You have the momentum, you're riding a high, similar to that playoff run. So, in some cases, it may be seen as something not beneficial, right? You don't want that momentum to lose. And despite who wins, whether it's the Aces or the Fever, they're gonna ride a high, right? And they're gonna go back into the gym and get some practice in. So either one of those teams coming out of that series is gonna have a bunch of momentum coming into the first finals game. But I think specifically for this Mercury team, because of the amount of injuries that they've had throughout the regular season, especially to their big 3 after a grueling first round series against the Liberty, and now against the Lynx. I think this time will be very valuable to them, especially knowing their history with injuries and with the series wins that they've already had. I think this is gonna be beneficial for them, right? They don't have to go back to Minnesota tomorrow. They don't have to play on Tuesday. They don't have to fly back to Phoenix on Wednesday. So definitely a benefit to them just to kind of reset uh, physically, mentally, even emotionally, right? Like these games take a toll on you emotionally. So I think that this is going to be a good thing for them. And once Friday comes, they're rested and they're just ready for whoever.
So, how do you feel about what's on the other side of the bracket? Which matchup do you think is gonna be a better one if you could pick for the Mercury?
Man, the Mercury haven't really played well against the Aces in the regular season, but the regular season is the regular season, right? That doesn't really matter now that the playoffs are kinda going on. It would be a pretty fun matchup to just watch the Mercury and the Aces go at it. I mean, you got Asia Wilson, Jackie Young, 2 of their top stars and just how they play and how they mesh together is just so fun to watch. But then watching the underdog Fever team, right? I mean, you said it, they're a team that most of their team is sidelined with injuries, and they've really had to depend on their bench to really push them forward. And they've gotten to this point, right? No team is an easy beatable team anymore, right? They're in this position because they've gone to this position on their grit, winning. So definitely another matchup I'd love to see. Um, but it'd be pretty fun to see a matchup in the desert, Las Vegas versus Phoenix. I think that would be really, really cool, just to see Asia Wilson again in there trying to go for another championship. But also the matchups. You'll get Asia, you'll get AT, probably Monique and Jackie there, and it's just gonna be a fun series. I think if Aces are able to pull it off.
If they do pull that off, and then going down that hypothetical, if the Mercury were somehow able to beat them and win the championship. You want to talk about an all-time run to win a title, going through the Liberty, the defending champs, then going through the Lynx, and then going through them would be you could put that run up with just about any title run that anyone's had in the WWE. I mean, that would be an insane three-game series or three different series on their way to a chip. So that would be absolutely fun. It's crazy. I mean, like you said, with the injuries that the Fever have, for them to win their first series, I don't think anyone would have expected. And now they're having a chance just one game away. Like it's they have found some kind of special sauce as well, where everyone's kind of their pieces right now are better than the total is better than the sum of the parts. So it
Yeah.
has been a wild WNBA playoffs so far. It's not done just yet. It's not done for Phoenix just yet. I can't wait to see kind of what happens in this next round, though. It's going to be really fun.
Oh, for sure. These playoffs have been just as entertaining as they can be, and it's just, been fun watching all the teams just, try and finish the job, and so the Phoenix Mercury will have that chance starting on Friday, and we'll get to see if they're able to.
There we go. Just 5 days away. Wendy, I really appreciate your time and insight on everything.
Thank you for having me, Spencer.